turning the page, but making sure they understand that there's areas that we have to be better in. I think that's one of the important things. Working on a little bit of pace again in our practice here today is something that's important, and some of the detail too as well.
Walker Duehr, he was working hard last night. What do you want to see from him when he gets into the lineup?
Walker, the one thing that his biggest strength that allows him to be an NHL player is his speed. So he's a bigger guy with a great skill set in regards to his speed, where he can challenge just about any defenseman wide with the puck. What he has to be consistent with is he's not naturally the most physical player. So coming out of his comfort zone a little bit and focusing on finishing hits on the forecheck, but maybe more importantly is being a guy that disrupts and causes a lot of loose pucks in the offensive zone so we can stay and play on it. So that's a really big thing for him, is making sure he's good at killing plays or stalling plays in the offensive zone. And then the other thing would be making sure he's really sound with his defensive details on the wall, making the proper plays in his own zone.
Can he show you that physicality in practice?
No, that's a tough one. I mean, you're not, and it's not, like I said, it's not so much about him running someone through the wall, but it's using his speed to advantage, his stick first, then body to kill the play, and then it allows everybody else to get to where they need to be from that point. So it's hard to finish hits against teammates in practice a lot of times, but it's something that he's going to continue to focus on.
Over the last month with Connor Zary, we know he's found his way into this lineup and produced points. How helpful would you say, do you think he's been to this team in terms of its transition game, in terms of carrying the puck and making zone entries?
Yeah, I think that's one thing I would say, but I think the other is his ability to hold the puck in the offensive zone and make plays with composure. I think that's probably the bigger impact that he's had for our group. So he's done what you've suggested, but he's really good with the puck. So like that power play goal the other night, for an example, like he's got composure with it in an area where most guys would panic and throw the puck away. He's got kind of he's got nerves that a lot of guys don't have in those situations, so it allows him to make plays because he's not afraid to hang on to it.
On the power play, to stick on that theme there, how would you say he's grasped those concepts that you've been trying to instill in your guys compared to some of the other guys on this team?
Yeah, they're coming. I mean, you saw last night he had a couple shot attempts coming down his forehand flank there. It's coming for sure. Like with everybody on our power play units right now, we want the pace to pick up in what we're doing with it and be a little bit more direct, and you can see him trying to do that.
When you hear that it can be, like, you sometimes hear that it's taxing to play from behind and to chase a game, how come, like, what makes it a taxing thing on a team?
Well, when you're chasing games, you tend to overplay guys. So you're going to put your guys that you expect to generate offense on the ice more often than they probably should be. So when you're always chasing a game, those guys at times play too much. Whether it's your forwards or your top defenseman that you're looking to generate a little offense, they're on the ice too much. So that's a big thing. When you're playing with the lead, there's more time for you to get everybody involved in the game and stay involved in the game.
Could be a mentally taxing thing too.
For sure. Well, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, they look at it like we're chasing again, here we go again type thing. So absolutely, it's something that we have to work on and we have to correct, and a lot of that comes to preparation and focus. Yeah.
What have you liked in Dylan Dubé's game, and what did you need to see more of out of him?
The speed I always like about Dylan's game, but the area that he's got to really zone in on over the next little while is, I'll call it, staying in the battle. A lot of times, players, they try to use the stick to poke a puck and hope it gets free behind a defenseman, so they're off to the races, where a lot of times the defensemen they're good. They understand positioning too and how to use their bodies to keep pucks alive. So in those situations, we'd like to see him go through the battle to make sure that he's committed to getting that puck out, or at least staying in the fight to allow him to get the puck. So that's a big thing in his own zone as well as it is in the offensive zone.
Ryan, we've seen teams that start their energy line every period because of how they set the tone. Yeah. Whatever line starts the game or the period from you, what can they do to set the tone and kind of dictate how you want the game to be played?
I think it's all them having a real good understanding of their game and what they have to bring to it as an individual and as a line. That's the most important thing, and from that point, you have to hold each other accountable.
Do you feel that there's enough of an overall physical presence by the whole team at the starts of games? Like we see Huberdeau last night, a little bit of frustration. He levels someone at the end of the first. I felt like everybody followed suit in the second period once the game was maybe too far gone. And it seemed to tilt the ice. How are you judging your physicality at the starts of games?
I don't think it's near enough. Like I had a kind of a off-the-cuff comment last night that our goalie was our most physical guy on that play behind the net, and there was no body contact from our group until Hubie kind of reverse hit that guy on that wall. So it doesn't need to necessarily be in your makeup that you're a crusher out there, but you have to be engaged physically in order for you, one, to make sure you're in the right mindset and prepared to play the game the proper way, but it also shows everybody around you that you're ready to go. So it's an important part, and I don't think we've done a good enough job with that bite aspect of the game over the last little while.
Are there any tactics you have as a coach to kind of push that out of the players?
I think the one is always ice time. The one guy that I feel has consistent bite for us is AJ Greer. So every night he's kind of doing what he has to do to earn more minutes, and it's up to us to provide those minutes when a player's showing that.
Just to follow up on Corey's question, is it a mentality issue or is it a personnel issue, the physicality?
I won't say personnel, I'll say personality. That might be a little bit more so. Like, there's certain guys around the league that live to run guys over. I mean, we don't necessarily have that type of player, but the makeup is different for those guys too, right? So everybody can be physical in their own way. And when we talked about losing some guys over the summer, well, where's the toughness going to come from? Well, it's a collective thing. And Corey mentioned it in the second period, you saw it, but why is it not there to start with? So that's up here. Yeah.
To follow up on Aaron's question, I mean, back in the day, you'd probably look at a team that would want to be tougher. You just try to pluck some enforcer into a lineup. And now we've seen that kind of player more or less phased out, and you need more, I guess, functional toughness. Could you just describe the challenge of trying to find that makeup of player who can be tough, but can also be inserted into a lineup and produce?
That's a good question. I mean, the role of the tough guy today is still there in the game. It really is. But if you want to be a good, successful team, you need to be in a position where, if you want to call it your fourth line or even your third line per se, has a lot of pace to its game, and they're edgy type guys where when they step on the ice, they know exactly how they're going to impact the game, so they don't have to find that or question that about them. There's a lot of speed to them for one, but there is some bite to them. I mean, that's the way it is. It's not that you see all the fights like we used to see. You don't see that anymore. There's the odd guy nowadays, but you can be team tough in a lot of different ways, and that comes from the pace that you play with and guys understanding their roles.